Hello everyone, here are the latest market news on August the 30th, 2019. Johnson's Brexit team will meet with EU officials. UK Boris Johnson's Brexit team will meet with the European Union officials at least twice a week in September as Prime Minister seeks to break the current impasse and curb a resistance in his own party against a no-deal divorce. However, both sides remain some distance apart on key issues, Johnson's office said in a statement. The EU said it is still awaiting concrete proposals from the UK. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said on Thursday the EU should be as flexible and positive as possible in its negotiations over Brexit, should the UK come up with specific suggestions on how it intends to leave the bloc with a deal. Meantime, PM Johnson needs to convince potential rebels in his own Conservative Party that he is close to agreeing a deal with the bloc ahead of a showdown in Parliament when it reconvenes next week. China declines the plan to stop Hong Kong protests. Earlier this summer, the chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, submitted a report to Beijing that assessed protesters' 5 key demands and found that withdrawing a contentious extradition bill could help defuse the mounting political crisis in the territory. However, the Chinese government rejected her proposal to withdraw the extradition bill and ordered Lam not to yield to any of the protesters' other demands. In addition to the withdrawal of the extradition bill, the other demands analyzed in the report were an independent inquiry into the protests, fully democratic elections, dropping out the term riot on describing protests, and dropping charges against those arrested so far. China's central government said no to all 5 demands, said the source familiar with the matter. The situation is far more complicated than most people realize. Asian shares mark 1-week high on trade progress. Shares in Asia surged to a 1-week high on Friday as the United States and China showed a willingness to resolve their trade dispute by returning to the negotiation table. At the same time, lingering recession fears tempered some of the enthusiasm. In early European trades, futures for main benchmark Euro Stoxx 50 rose 0.15%. German DAX added 0.25%, while those of London's FTSE and France's CAC 40 were slightly higher. Meantime, E-minis for the S&P 500 declined 0.1% after more than 1% gain on Wall Street overnight. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan climbed 0.8% to the highest since August the 23rd, but lost some gains after Chinese and Hong Kong stock markets turned negative. Japan's benchmark Nikkei surged 1.2%, while South Korea's Kospi index increased 1.8%. Australian shares were 0.9% higher. Oil tumbles but heads for biggest weekly increase. Oil prices lost some of its recent gains on Friday but were still headed for the biggest weekly growth since early July, maintained by a drop in U.S. stocks, a looming hurricane in Florida, and an easing of Sino-U.S. trade dispute. International benchmark Brent crude decreased 23 cents or 0.4%, traded at $60.85 a barrel, but was heading for a gain of more than 2% for the week. Meanwhile, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 40 cents or 0.7% to $56.31 a barrel. The contract is still set for a gain of nearly 4% this week. On Thursday, the United States and China gave signs that they will resume trade talks discussing the next round of in-person negotiations in September ahead of a looming deadline for additional U.S. tariffs. This move boosted oil prices, although worries about a slowdown in economic growth and the impact on oil demand kept growth of prices during this week.